Okay, in this video, we're going to be talking about this is to be a theological video, very brief. One of the things that I like about there was a sect within Islam that's extinct now, known as the Mu'tazila, and one of the arguments that they made that's is the antithesis of what most schools of thought in Islam believe today is the notion of we as people we must have a free will in order for us to be punished in hellfire. And one can argue that's the only appropriate belief you can have for um, to have in order to have a just God, because one of the things that they refer to themselves as is Ahlo Adil, or the people of justice, because for them, if our lives were predestined, if there was a destiny that could not be overridden, and if we didn't have a free will, there would be no justification for hell, and that would make God unjust for punishing people for acts that they were made to commit. That's just food for thought. But one of the things that they did was, and that I agree with, was that they stripped God of all his attributes. And the reason they did that, because again, when one thinks, and it's not only within the Islamic tradition, you'll find these sort of issues arising, but in order for some of these attributes, for most religions believe God is omnibenevolent, meaning that he's all good. Uh, and in order for that to be the case, uh, he would have to be all good, and part of that being all good would make it necessary that um, evil doesn't befall good people, or injustices or atrocities, what we would consider atrocities today, shouldn't be allowed if God is omnibenevolent. And I would have to. I really considered it all, and I had to agree with that. There's some instances where you can point to it and actually accuse God of injustice, or allowing evil to prosper, and you get different arguments from philosophers. I think Augustine or Saint Augustine, whichever pronunciation is the most appropriate, actually argued that the reason evil exists is so we know how to differentiate, or we can recognize it and either reject it or embrace it. So, for example, he said if the entire universe, I don't know if Augustine said this necessarily. I read his book, City of God, once, and I think this is from Augustine, but if the entire universe was red, how could we know any other colors? How we know what green was if everything was red? So, just another interesting uh, thing to think about.